Hi, it's Christina at Cemetery of Choice, where we look at both pre-legalization and post-legalization abortion death to see what we can learn to protect women regardless of the legal status of abortion. Now, today is August 7th, and our first abortion death involved multiple doctors in Chicago in 1915. A 30-year-old woman named Stella died at Chicago's Lakeshore Hospital. Her husband had called in Dr. Thomas Balhatchit to take care of her while she was sick in the middle of July. Balhatchit said that she was suffering ill effects of an accident and called in Dr. Patrick Mills. Stella didn't speak English, so Mills couldn't get any information from her. He found Stella to be very ill. He didn't like the situation. He probably suspected that it was an abortion case, so he left Balhatchit to deal with Stella alone. And it was then that Dr. Balhatchit called in Dr. G.A. Stetler, who evidently realized that he was dealing with an abortion case and that a second surgery was necessary, and one of the doctors performed it. And that kind of freaks us out now to think about an abortion being performed in the home. But I have a maternity nursing book from the 1930s with instructions on how to set up a kitchen for an operating room to do a C-section. So surgery in the home was not some freaky, weird, shocking thing like it is to us now. Now, the next day, somebody asked a nurse to provide care. She had not been told first that this was going to be an abortion case, and she was not happy and did not want to get involved, but she did anyway, stayed with Stella until she was admitted to the hospital on July 29th. And there, a Dr. Maximilian Meinhardt, who owned the surgery, owned the operation, and was the head of surgery, declared that Stella was suffering from pneumonia and handed her off to Dr. Charles W. Clark, who, not having been given a medical history, diagnosed Stella with pneumonia. Now, when Stella died, she was going to be buried as a pneumonia victim, but Dr. Springer, the coroner, had heard vague rumors about an abortion and decided to do an autopsy. And he decided that Stella had actually died from a septic abortion. Now, I think there was a reason that they took Stella specifically to Meinhardt's hospital. He had been in abortion-related trouble before. In 1912, the body of a young woman was taken from his home to an undertaking establishment, and he said that she died of pneumonia, but the undertaker notified the coroner. The coroner held an inquest and concluded that she had died from a botched abortion. And then Meinhardt was also implicated in 1917 in another abortion death. And I have been unable to find out who, if anybody, was actually held accountable for Stella's death. There's actually very little information. I just have the Homicide in Chicago Interactive Database, which is not always the most accurate source, but I do link to it, so at least you have that to look at. Now, the next death, we go ahead, and that's in Chicago in 1937. Now, a midwife named Sophie Mann and her sister, Dr. Gertrude Plentz, were both indicted in the August 2nd, 1937 abortion death of a 25-year-old divorced mother named Mary. I could only find news snippets about Mary's death, and I can't show them to you because right now the Cemetery of Choice website is down for repairs. But I do have Gertrude Plentz's advertisement, and she does not seem to be clandestinely advertising abortions like many were. They would generally say things like specializing in ladies' trouble, guaranteed results. Those were the nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Now, Dr. Plentz had also been implicated in the abortion death of Margaret McCarthy in 1904 and Sarah Cushing in 1905. Now, that huge gap between Margaret and Sarah's deaths and Gertrude's deaths might indicate either that Dr. Plentz refined her technique, or she could have decided that she really wasn't that keen on doing abortions after all. She was getting in trouble for it. And now we jump ahead to Safe and Legal in Akron in 1981. A 27-year-old divorced mother of 3 children, ages 6, 4, and 2, named Robin, went to have a safe legal abortion performed under general anesthesia by Dr. Max Pierre Goujon at Akron Center for Reproductive Health. She went there on July 15th, 1981. She went into cardiac arrest in the recovery room and was transferred by ambulance to a hospital where she remained in a coma until her death on August 2nd. Now, both Galjean and the anesthesiologist were independent contractors that didn't maintain private practices. The suit filed by Robin's survivors alleged that she was overdosed on anesthesia and not properly monitored. That's a familiar tune. And it also alleged that the staff failed to resuscitate Robin after her condition had been discovered. Again, that's par for the course. So the case was settled out of court. So, we're seeing doctors and midwives involved in these pre-legalization deaths, and we're seeing doctors who aren't doing a particularly great job after legalization. What we can do to protect women from people like that is open to discussion.